Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the latest generation for the Mclaren GT. Huge shout out to 704 Exotics for providing this supercar for me today. Definitely take a look at their website. That link is down in the description below. This Mclaren GT is finished off in GT Orange. Original MSRP was just over $213,000. Now this is a mid-engine supercar. You can't actually see the engine in the back of this GT, but this is powered by a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. It's paired to the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, and it pumps out 612 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,400-pound supercar from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, 0 to 125 in 9 seconds. It has a top speed of 203 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 19 gallons. You'll expect to see around 15 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 105.1 inches. Its overall length is 184.4. It has a width of 80.5, a height of 47.8, and its ground clearance measures in at 4 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for the Mclaren GT, you'll notice right off the bat there's not a lot of harsh edges. Everything has a very smooth and seamless design to it. You will notice too, for this front bumper, it wraps underneath the headlights all the way to the opposite side, just giving it a very nice front end design. Underneath that, there are a few lines with all of the gloss black and plenty of inlets to provide a lot of cooling to the components that are up front. Now this also has parking sensors, which is very nice to have. It has a set of LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals too, with a very nice sleek design to them. And then being a mid-engine vehicle, this does have the storage space up front. So you can actually use the key fob. In the lower section, there's a frunk and the storage in the back. So if I push on the left side of that icon, that will release the front. From there, we can pull that straight up, where at the moment, there's my camera equipment along with the car cover too. So there's actually a decent amount of space to make this a daily driver, to give you a lot of space to actually drive this and bring some items with you. So it is great to see that. Of course, the Mclaren badge is also up front. And as we work our way to the side, this has a staggered setup for these wheels. They are 20 by 8 up front and 21 by 10.5 in the rear. We have a beautiful gloss black design with that multi-spoke pattern. The Mclaren brakes are finished off in black as well. And you'll notice more of that gloss black that was up front works its way to the lower side skirts. This has body colored for those side mirrors. And it also has a two-tone theme going on with the GT orange and then the gloss black for the entire upper section. I think it's a really nice contrast. You'll notice too, behind the doors, we have large inlets to provide even more cooling for that mid-engine. And then there's even some more in the back there with this large fender over that rear tire. It's a very low car and has a cool presence to it. Definitely something that's going to stand out, especially in this orange. Now, as we work our way to the back, Mclaren is right in the middle with that third brake light. There's a lot of heat extraction vents in that upper section, along with the very thin tail lights. You'll notice too, that entire bar is the turn signal as well, but they're pretty hidden to match the middle section of that grille there and that design. There's also the backup camera, all of the parking sensors, more gloss black in that lower diffuser, as well as all of the heat extraction vents, dual exhaust, which of course we will start up here in just a little bit. Now, being the GT, this is supposed to be a little bit more of a grand touring type vehicle, a little bit more practical to drive. So I can push on that other button and the entire power hatch is going to open up. Now, I will say this is very, very narrow. You might not be able to fit golf clubs in the back. You could fit the clubs without the bag. Just for example, maybe some luggage can fit up front behind those back seats there. So it's not the biggest, but for a supercar of this kind, even to put backpacks up front or some smaller items, groceries, something like that, you do get that additional space. With the engine hidden underneath, it's still a cool concept to see. And there is a power button up top, so that way you don't have to close that. Pretty neat how that entire hatch will open up. We have the fuel cap on this driver's side, and then let's work our way to these vertical doors. On the GT, just push this button. The window is going to roll down. You can actually roll it all the way down if you continue to hold on that. And then from there, we will just lift this door all the way up. And of course, we get that cool supercar door for this Mclaren. Now on the back side of the door, there's a button here. It looks to be for towing if you have to put it on a flatbed, and then you can open up the front storage space too. Also on the door is the Bowers & Wilkins audio, and then you do get some hidden storage. You can actually open this up. You do have to hold on it, but it is nice that you get some hidden storage, and it is like that because of course if it wasn't closed, everything would fall out. We have the grab handle too, this is the release, and then you have some window controls as well. And then as we work our way to the interior, this model has the black leather seats with all of the orange stitching, and then we do have some leather with McLaren written out on this door sill here, along with some carpet. Now, having this door and that door sill, it is a little bit tricky to get in, but once I'm in, it's not that bad. Just grab this, we can close that back down, and now we are inside this McLaren. We have the leather steering wheel with some brushed aluminum accents, massive paddle shifters on both sides as well. But let's fire this back up. That button is located down below. With my foot on the brake, it's time to listen to the McLaren GT. And coming back to the digital gauge cluster, you'll notice the tach is front and center along with miles per hour, what gear you're in. Right side will show you fuel, engine, and oil temperature. On the left side, currently there's vehicle information. Now to go through the rest of that, there's this stalk located over on the bottom left of the steering wheel. So if I use that and just tap it up or down, we can go through some of this information, including navigation, and then that's pretty much it for that. Now, if I push on the end of it and pull on it, we can get to some more vehicle information that you can go through, including the rear view camera. I can just push on the end of the stalk and then pull that up. So now we can take a look at that and we have all that information. And then if I go out of that, we can exit back out and get back into this information, and then we can even go through some more within each of these. So just by using that stalk, it's a little bit tricky to learn, but you can easily go through all of this and get to what you'd like. So it is nice that you have that amount of info front and center. And then you'll notice too, we have non-active on both sides. When you come down to the middle and you see the active button, if you push on that, now we can go through traction control as well as the different driving modes, and that will automatically change the entire digital gauge cluster. So we're in track mode right now. I can twist on that. You'll notice in the lower right, now we're in sport mode, and then the last one is going to be comfort. If I go to the traction control over on that left side now, you will notice that change for the handling. So we have comfort as well as sport and track for both of those. So that is really going to change how this vehicle drives. We have the manual setting as well, which allows you to use these paddle shifters. And so really cool to have those adjustments just depending on how you'd like to drive. Now on the left side, there's the e-brake along with the rear hatch release. You have the front storage. All of the headlight adjustments are tucked away down below. On the right side, this is for the side mirrors, so you can easily adjust those. And then we do have stalks like your wiper blades and your turn signal on both sides. Even with the massive paddle shifters, you can still get to them. So these don't take up any of that space. Now there's full leather covering the entire dash, 2 air vents in the middle, and then we do have a smaller screen in the middle. It's almost like using a cell phone, but it's actually pretty easy to use. So we do have some shortcuts down below, so you can get into a ton of different settings, quickly get into your fan speed. You'll notice too that there's the racing helmet, so that way you know you are getting air to your head there. We have Bluetooth controls, you can get into your music, even pull up the navigation. While it's a small screen, still very visible and easy to see. So this is a pretty easy system to use and to go through all this information. It's also touchscreen as well. So if you want to use it that way, again, very nice to at least have all of this for the middle. Now underneath, you'll notice there's the McLaren GT badge, along with 2 very small cup holders. You have a little bit of storage on both sides where you can maybe place a cell phone or something like that. We have the start button. And then as we work our way behind that, there's the hazards along with lock, engine start stop feature for this supercar, launch control, and then to put this into drive, just push down on D, push down on R. You have reverse on the back side, or again, we have the backup camera and then sensors in the middle. Side view mirrors will also adjust too, which is great. And then to put this into park, you could leave it in drive or neutral, pull on the e-brake, and then you are able to shut it off. Now in the middle, there's one more cup holder. You do get a little bit of space with an auxiliary in the armrest, so that is great to see. There is no glove box, but you have the McLaren badge over on that passenger side. And then here's a look at that storage from inside. So if you put some items back here, you can easily grab them, which is nice if you have a jacket or something else, and there's that lip there, so none of that is going to roll all the way to the back. So you can at least grab it, which is nice. And then as far as visibility goes, we have the large glass there. There's actually 2 windows over there. This does have a full moonroof too. There's no sunshade, so I'm assuming there's some kind of tint in this glass. And then over this left shoulder, you have that window there. So honestly, you have a lot of visibility for this mid-engine supercar. But now let's go ahead and get this out on the road. As we set up now behind the wheel for the Mclaren GT, real quick, I did forget to mention where these seat adjustments are. They're not located on the outside of the seat like every other car. They're actually down below in between the center console and the seat. So you can't actually see the buttons, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to. Now, I was recently in a 570S, which is no longer being made, and the seat controls were in the same position. So it's just something, it's nice that there's memory seating adjustments, so once you get it dialed in, you can get them where you'd like them. Now, we are going to keep the traction control in the middle setting here, so we'll go into sport, and then let's go into sport for the active as well, and then we have the paddle shifters too, which actually have a rocker design to them, so I can actually downshift using my right hand. So if I was drinking some water or something or eating, I can actually downshift and upshift with one hand. This is quick. Now we do have some inclement weather today. We have over 600 horsepower, so not getting on it too much today, but even with that, this is quick. It's not as loud as I was expecting compared to the revs that we heard earlier, but let's put it into track. And once we straighten out, let's listen to that exhaust again here. You can hear that engine just behind you here, which is definitely a good feeling. Now, the purpose of the Mclaren GT and why I wanted to check this out, this is a Grand Touring supercar. GT stands for Grand Tour, but McLaren claims that this is their most chilled out and most relaxing supercar that you can buy. With that being said, it's still something that, it's a McLaren, it's a quick car, it's a supercar. It is something that it's a supercar. It's something that, yes, you can daily drive. The 570 that I was in could also be daily driven. But this, I think, with a few more suspension adjustments, is a little bit more geared towards being a daily driver, especially with the storage that you get behind the seats. So yes, it's a relaxing McLaren to drive, but it's also something that you can take to the track and have some fun with. So it's cool to see that McLaren is offering you something that might not be quite as hardcore as the 720S was, which is no longer being made, the 765 LT, some of those other models that are way more track focused and a little bit more hardcore to drive. This is something that you can absolutely daily drive. So if you want a supercar, you want something that, of course, most of the time you're going to be driving like I'm doing right now, going from point A to point B, but you want to be comfortable, you don't want to be bouncing around in something that's a little bit more track focused. This is a perfect option to go with. Storage up front, some storage in the rear, and it's a little bit more storage than my R8. I just have the storage up front with a small shelf behind the seat. So I can see this being a little bit more practical, even though the storage isn't that much in the back. It's still something that you have. This is quick. The shifts are super responsive as well. So very, very nice to see that. Let's tone everything down now, go into non-active, where we just have a normal driving vehicle. And if we give it an acceleration without using the paddles, a little bit of turbo lag, but we were going a little slow. And it kind of tames down slightly. Not the biggest difference in the exhaust there, but now we can just drive it like normal. This is so fun to drive. This is the second McLaren that I've ever driven, and I think it's a cool car. I love the doors. That's a huge factor in any supercar, is to get the doors that don't open like normal doors. Switching over to the POV angle, let's put it into the track mode now. We have it in the manual setting. Here we go. up to speed. You do feel a little bit of the drama in between the shifts, especially in track mode, which I like to see or feel, just to give you a little bit more of that drama with it not being quite as loud as I would have hoped for the style vehicle. But again, it's a Grand Tourer, so it's going to be a little bit more geared towards daily driving. Obviously, you can change that with an aftermarket exhaust if you would like to, but here is one hand downshifting. I've never seen another vehicle where you can do that. So I really like that rocker design for these. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the Mclaren GT. And hopefully you can tell just how easy this is to see around. I really like the amount of visibility for this. A lot of people always complain with mid-engine cars that they don't have a lot of visibility, and to an extent that is correct. But even in my R8, I can get everything adjusted and really not have any blind spots. So it's just something that of course you get used to. It's not something that is going to hinder you from buying a vehicle like this, but this one has a lot of visibility, which is nice to see. And I like how modern feeling this car is with the amount of tech that it has. Everything is super user-friendly to go through. It's definitely something that is daily driver friendly. So if you're looking for an exotic supercar, this Mclaren is going to give you that experience. It's also going to be incredibly fun to drive and rip on. But that is going to wrap it up for the Mclaren GT. Once again, huge shout out to 704 Exotics for providing this supercar for me today. Check out their website. Also, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.